Hi, I'm Danny.
And I'm Si. Welcome to Business in a Brew, a podcast dedicated to all things business with the occasional cover.
We take a business story, theory, or something we just want to chat about and give it a dusting of our own special personality and sense of humour, combined with our experience and knowledge. We're both business graduates and have run our own businesses for many years. We can't wait for you to listen.
Hello, Dan.
Hello.
All right, that was a false start, wasn't it?
It was a false start, yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's not the Grand National.
Okay, well, want to just have a discussion with you about change management here.
Okay.
Oh, change management. Oh, no, not change management. Oh, God,
I'm sorry, am I supposed to be saying that?
No.
What?
But you know, businesses go through
familiar.
change.
And humans.
And humans do too, yes. Who run
the businesses. Yes, it's going well.
I know.
Yeah.
But there's a thing that happens when a business grows or a business becomes more long in the tooth. It kind of needs to adopt systems and procedures and practices.
Does this only apply to businesses over a certain size or any size?
No, I think it's any size, because you end up getting friction occurring because no one likes change. Human beings do not like change.
Yeah, even the simple changes, like when I moved from doing all my invoicing on a spreadsheet to using a system, there's still a lag of a learning process and a remembering to do it over here instead of over there. And
pain associated with it.
Yeah.
But change in companies can actually often lead to rejection. And this then presents a bit of a problem. So I did some study around this. And I've also seen this happening, and I hear this anecdotally from clients, that they go and adopt a new system.
Mm-hmm.
The people within the organisation are supposed to adopt it as well. And what happens if the people internally don't adopt it, or don't want to adopt it, or resist it?
And is that a top-down introduction of newness?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's right, I'm going to come into that, because I want to just kind of go through a few kind of elements that kind of take you on a journey of change.
Ooh, journey of change. It sounds like a fairy story.
There's a brilliant expression by a bloke called Jim Rohn. I think that's how you pronounce it, R-O-H-N.
Yeah.
Or it could be Ron, couldn't it? If you fail to change, change will change you.
If you fail to change will change
you.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah, because you have to adapt. You either have to adapt to the external environment,
or it forces its change on you.
To the internal environment. Yeah. Tony Robbins was also quoted as saying, "By changing nothing, nothing changes."
Right. One just said that it was happening to you, and the other one said that it wasn't happening at all unless you did something. Which one is it? Those you've just contradicted.
No.
Well, they contradicted themselves
deliberately.
Oh, how exciting!
Oh, yeah.
Controversy.
There was no accident there. Yeah.
You didn't read them and go, "Oh, they mean the same thing."
So the first one suggests if you don't adapt and evolve in response to change, life itself will force you to adapt.
Yes.
And you may
as in you're a passive.
Oh my goodness.
Person in that.
I wish we'd changed. We didn't, and therefore, unfortunately, the business is going to have to fold up.
Like Blockbuster.
Correct.
Thank you.
There's an importance to remain flexible and agile to a degree, and arguably, the bigger the company, bigger the organisation, the less adaptable, the less flexible, and the less agile.
Yeah, in the same way, the larger the vehicle, the harder it is to do a 3.10.
Yeah, or the animal. Like whale, it takes a long time for a whale to turn around.
Does it?
As opposed to a little fish. Yeah.
I suppose it does. They've got further to... Anyway, that's not important.
And resisting it can lead to problematic or basically potentially negative consequences or unforeseen. Be personal habits, dietary habits, let's say, attitudes, relationships, or even career path. But on a corporate scale or on a business scale, the ability for the business to be able to adapt. So there's a requirement for what would be termed proactive adaptation, which is to spot that there's something coming And in a business...
Being prepared for change.
Yeah. And in a business sense, that the strategic part, the strategic mind for that business, that is the top-down, sees that if they are to remain competitive, if they are to remain
relevant and
efficient, change is required. Now, I came into contact with this in a very specific sense of the word, which is actually the adoption of internal systems to help make things work more efficiently.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a proponent of efficiency driven internally by bringing systems together.
Yeah.
So you don't have, you might have 4 or 5 different systems that are doing different things, stock and inventory control and fulfillment and delivery.
Yeah.
And then you've got customer control and credit control, accounting, and a number of other systems.
Yeah.
And they're all independent. They're all none of them are connected.
No.
So it takes a person to connect them. And often they're running reports.
Error.
You can imagine the meetings.
Yeah.
Exactly. Running the reports and each being responsible for their area of the ship. But what can happen is that you have this mismatch in the information.
Yeah.
You have errors occurring in the information, and basically, ideally, what you want is something that actually holds all of that together.
Because there could be any number of reasons for that. Like one data system updates at midnight every night, and one updates at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So data won't necessarily match and that kind of thing.
And you must have, in your previous career in logistics, have had to deal with systems like that.
Yes, although I am old enough to know that at the time it was less computer-based and more phone calls on a piece of paper.
Yeah, quite.
We had a clipboard and everything.
Yeah, clipboard.
But again, that was a system that became outdated and trying to replace
she's here with her clipboard.
I used to audit pallets as well. That was a lot of fun. Everything you say makes sense from an efficiency and a business oversight point of view.
Yeah.
But for that person on the ground using those things day to day, there's a certain degree of, but we've always done it this way. I know what I'm doing, I can get on with it.
That's how we do things here. Yeah. That is it. And their individual responsibility is basically their area of the ship, if you like.
Yeah, if they're responsible for this one system, they don't really care.
They don't see what happens over there. Yeah. They're just responsible for this little bit here.
Yeah.
So it becomes a bit problematic then if all of a sudden management go, we've got a new system starting. We've got a guy coming in. He's going to start fitting it, and the people that are involved actually don't know. They don't know what it is. They don't know the significance of it. The whys, the wherefores. Are we going to be taken over? Is it so it can spot where I'm making my mistakes? Am I going to be one for the chopping block? And it's down to management and ownership to actually communicate this effectively, communicate the reasons why. Mm-hmm. It's not because if you've got a workforce of, I don't know, it could be 5 people, it could be 15, it could be 50, it could be way more than that. These people are all taking responsibility, and they are conducting their day-to-day employment in a gainful way. Mm-hmm. Majority of people in a working environment do not shirk responsibility. They don't run away. They are there, and they take pride. They take pride in their work. So all of a sudden, for management to basically decide, right, bring the system in, there's nothing you can do about it. The decision's bigger than you, so you just got to adopt it and adapt to it. It's quite a big change for someone to have to deal with. Oh, wait a minute, I'm doing my job here, but I'm going to have to get used to this new system as well.
The inverse of that, or the opposite, they mean the same thing, don't they? Would be constant consultation and constant involvement of your workforce in a decision-making process, but that can't be conducive to agility either, because if you're having to involve 500 employees in which system do you think is the best one to use, that can't be conducive.
Yeah, which is why an awful lot of these initiatives actually fail. They fail largely because of a lack of communication and a lack of consultation.
So it's bad if you say nothing and just do it. It's bad if you try to involve everyone, because that's never going to work. So we're looking for this sweet middle ground.
But why would it never work if you're consulting with people? Is it that it would
it would take too long?
It would take too long.
I mean, you remember the gritters, Gritty McGritface and Boaty McBoatface?
Right.
When you let potentially uninformed people.
Everyone has an opinion.
You're potentially going to get the wrong answer because, as you said, they care about their system, this thing they're doing. They don't see the bigger picture. Actually, they couldn't care less if it connects with purchasing and accounting. They just care that it does what they need it to do.
Yeah, but the research, the evidence says that the organisation that communicates what it is going to do and why it is going to do it.
So not a consultation, but a communication.
That's exactly what I said just before. It is a communication.
Yeah.
The decision is made, not which platform we're going to adopt, which platform we're going to use.
Yeah.
Because that is taken at a much higher strategic level. But the communication of breaking those responsibilities into their groups and actually having there's a thing called a guiding coalition, which is where you have the management have to coordinate what they are doing with their departments.
Yeah.
So
dissemination of information.
Of those, so there has to be a buy-in from management.
Yeah.
And then there has to be a feeding of information and a communication of what is being done, why it's being done, but importantly, what is going to be on the other side of it.
Mm.
So that the identification then, the adaptation is less of a risk. Now, there's a part to this which is actually reflected in the kind of mourning, kind of what MOUR.
Like a grief.
Like a grief, yeah. The loss of what you knew, to then having to come to terms with a change, like a death.
I don't suppose anyone thinks that overtly that they're going to go through a grief cycle, but it would make sense that you do.
But that is effectively what happens. Yeah. So there's this need to be incredibly sensitive towards the needs of the people that work within the organisation.
This is why I don't employ people.
Fair enough. To give them the opportunity to explain their concerns, but that the decision has ultimately been made, but this is how it is going to improve their life and enable them to do some of the other things that they might not have been able to do because they were so busy doing the thing they were already doing.
Because you're still going to get, like with a grief cycle, you've got denial, anger, bargaining, something, acceptance.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's still like that. You get that frustration.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Yeah.
You get it was so much easier when I could do it because I knew how to do it and I didn't have to think about it.
It has to be anticipated. So management and leadership have to anticipate that. They have to be sensitive to that.
They have to allow space for it.
Yes, exactly. And they have to support people through that process. And to be a modern employer, as we've talked about with in previous episodes, it is to be mindful of the people that work for you, and it is to be sensitive to their needs and manage them and lead them.
That level of sensitivity and that level of effort that is required to enact change effectively must add a level of fear to the idea of change from a management level. Because the amount you have to go through, not only do I have to find a new system, not only do I have to change all the paperwork over and get all the new files uploaded and all the rest of it, I have to make sure there's space in the workforce to communicate. I have to make sure they're all happy with it. I have to provide, I don't know, someone for them to talk to if they don't know what they're doing and training.
Yeah.
It almost makes it
absolutely
like a worse prospect to change.
Yeah, the other side. But there becomes a point where change is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, you've got no choice.
Efficient.
Yeah.
So efficient workplace on the other side of it. Everyone benefits from it, but that communication has to take place. And the organisation, so the evidence says, the organisation that just adopts and then expects everyone to deal with it, basically leads often to failure. And the adoption of these internal systems, ERP, for example, electronic resource planning, but it binds all of those systems together. You can't just drop it in and it miraculously works. It takes months and months and months for all of that to be programmed fully, which is where you need the platform provider has to come in and do all of that.
And the experts in-house, I assume, to support with, well, we need it showing the purchase order number before
Absolutely.
the date or whatever.
So it becomes a two-way communication.
Yeah.
It becomes a two-way communication. You are reliant on the internal staff then to actually make sure that the external developer knows what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So that's why you need this guiding coalition, which is actually in each department there has to be someone internally, so not only management, but the internal personnel within that section to actually accept that there is a requirement for it, B, their participation in making sure that works smoothly is going to make sure it's successful on the other side. Like
championing it almost, taking people who are going to pick it up as super users and understand the process.
But it's not, it should never be seen as on the other side of this, we're going to be losing 50% of our staff because we made ourselves all efficient because it's, because that would be diabolical to do that. But those people are often under significant pressure. So if you imagine an organisation, a growing organisation that's got a number of staff in each section, they actually may well be under significant pressure, which is where the inefficiencies are coming from, where bottlenecks may form.
Yes, they've always got a full inbox.
And they're always frustrated by the bottlenecks. So so it's where solving this problem actually alleviates bottlenecks and then it actually makes for a much more efficient set of processes. So really it was just exploring the requirement for change for change's sake is pointless, but change management is required to take a business from one state to another state.
So what are the top things you would say any business needs to be effective at change, change management?
The top things, well, know why they're doing it.
So it's not just change for change's sake, it's got a purpose, it's got a direction.
You would not invest, I don't know, £100,000 in a new system, £200,000. It could cost more than
companies that do that.
Yeah. To know exactly why you're doing it. But actually that alleviation of problem areas within your internal systems by adoption, communication of that, but then communication internally and also back externally to help that to go smoothly, but then also the preparedness to support internally and to help people go through what is likely to be a grief cycle. Oh God, it didn't used to be like this, it's now like this, because that will happen. But to actually ensure that whatever is hoped for on the other side is achieved, because overall those elements all work together. I mean, it seems like a really simple set of rules for adoption.
Something that in theory is going to happen to you anyway.
But it doesn't matter how big or how small that changes. It could be anything. I mean, it could be a new manager, for example. It could be a new managing director comes in. There's going to be change, but that new managing director, that they are going to be implementing changes. It could be in changes to management structure. But anyone coming in to even perform that role as a human being has to be mindful that there are people whose nose are going to be put out of joint.
Because they wanted the promotion or they liked their boss or it was easier under so-and-so.
Yeah, but that is going to enforce change in those internal people.
Yeah.
So that communication has to be really sensitively handled. Now, the business these days that doesn't handle things sensitively like that, no matter how small the change, is missing a point when it comes to their own internal people. Those people they end up depending on to help them move to the next stage.
Yeah.
So change at one end, but you need those people internally to follow the leadership on that journey.
Yeah, to
make sure the change on the other side of it is actually effective.
Yeah.
And I've known too many cases where that hasn't happened, where that implementation wasn't successful because it was rejected, because it hadn't been sold, if you like, internally in the correct way, where people hadn't been supported, and it either led to people actually just going, I'm not doing this, I'm off. Yeah. And I've known people who've worked for some fairly large organisations who've done that as well, not just small ones, but I've seen it in clients.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to explore it really. So have you had yourself any?
I've seen examples in clients where, I mean, I've done it. I've been brought into a company to support with a marketing function, but that's not really been communicated internally. And all the people who were sticking their fingers in the marketing pie beforehand are all really, really angry and really, really resentful. And all they've had is one line email saying Danielle's now doing this.
Yeah.
And I end up being the scapegoat for everyone who's very unhappy about everything. And that's not a comfortable position for me. And it's not one I should ever have to be put in.
No.
I think the concept of change management sounds frightening.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, it should be a natural and inherent process. It's not like something on a spreadsheet.
No, absolutely not.
But
it should be a next step. It should be hopefully a next logical step.
Yeah, but it should be done. You should just be a good boss. You should just talk to your employees. You should just give them space to feel their feelings and all the rest of that stuff. You should just communicate well. I suppose maybe good leaders do it naturally without really thinking about it. But we've talked about them before, accidental managers, they don't have the training, they don't have the background, they don't have the awareness. So without knowing what they don't know and knowing what could come, they are potentially positioning themselves in quite a dangerous spot where their boss has gone, right, guys, we're going to do this. We're going to make sure your team's all aware, and all you do is send out a one-line email that says Danielle's starting on Monday.
Yeah.
And they don't know why. They don't know if it means their jobs are at risk. They don't know anything. And it would just create problems. So I have seen it in real life.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a training and culture thing. If you train in communication, you train in the idea of change and welcoming change and accepting your people, I think that would work. I think as a process, it's not a process. It's more tactile than that. It's less.
I think, well, no, there is a process because there's changes. There are stages within it. But actually it has to be seen in a little bit more of a human,
an organic way.
Yeah. That one thing does have to lead to the next, but that you take this group of people on the journey with you, and you don't leave them behind.
I imagine some of them you're dragging.
Catch up. Yeah.
Because there's always going to be that person who doesn't want to change, who's always, who's been here 40 years and doesn't want to do it any different. There's always going to be that person.
Yeah.
I suppose you just have to accept that as part of the change process. You may lose people, and that's their choice. Yeah,
and obviously small changes, they're easy. They're easy to deal with. They're much easier to deal with. They are much easier to deal with, obviously. But broad-based system changes that are affecting the lives of a couple of hundred people, that's something else altogether.
Bigger. Yeah.
So therefore, it should be treated as something altogether different. So it's the scaling of it. You wouldn't apply the same scale, let's say, to a smaller set of changes, but you would apply some of the principles.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And I deal with it pretty much on a day-to-day basis, but that is from a perspective of adopting a new, let's say, e-commerce system, going from one to another.
Yeah, because everyone you work with is changing something.
Yes, they are, and telling them actually what you're going to be doing and what your internal staff are going to be doing is actually embarking on something.
So do you build some of those principles into the way you communicate with clients?
Absolutely. Yeah,
this is what you're getting. This is what it's going to be like. Do you need training? Do you need support?
Well, you do. Everyone does. Yeah. But try and shorten the learning curve, make the learning curve a lot smaller, and actually do that handover, do that properly, but actually plant the seeds of why that is so important to them early on, so they know the reasons they're going. They come to us, they know what they want to do. We're advising them on the platform, and then we're then taking them through that transition. So handling a lot of it for them, but actually then the transition, if you like, for them, the change is for them to adopt the new system when it's ready, and then to basically coach them and support through that.
You have quite an organic role in the entire thing, because you start that relationship as a salesman, essentially. That's essentially what you do. You do sales. You build relationships, you do it in a very nice and ethical way, but it's still a salesman. But you end as a change manager, as you're introducing and taking them through that process. And at some points in that, you're probably a therapist as well.
So what I'm not doing is selling the project and then walking away from it. Oh my God, no.
Which is, I think it is a different approach to some firms. Some firms will just, okay, it's live, off you go, bye.
Yeah, but no, I have to remain in contact with it right the way through. But that is important. That's why what I do is I adopt the role of the of the change manager, but the guiding coalition side of things. That coalition is to get people internally all to buy into where they're going with it.
Yeah.
Tell them actually on the other side of this is going to make them so much better, so much more efficient on the other side of it. They can start to see that, and they know it because they just talk to other clients who will tell them how much of an improvement it is. So it becomes less of a risk for them. They know other people are doing it. And, everyone says they're scared of technology. Everyone says that they are Luddites and people, they're inept. The majority of people are technically unaware. Yeah. But kind of make things a lot more approachable, a lot more attractive to them by breaking down a lot of those barriers. And that's where my role is. I wasn't bringing it to me. You've done that, but it was more the bigger picture.
No, I just think it's an interesting service offering for people who anyone has a service-based business to be able to do that bit extra, especially when you've got the knowledge and skill and know-how to be able to guide people through that.
Well, I think it's essential, though. I think it's essential, regardless of whether it's the external service provider. And let's say go back about that big implementation of ERP, for example. The service provider, it could be, for example, NetSuite or SAP or one of a number of different ERPs. They, I would hope, would be sensitive to the needs of the people who are going to be making those changes. And
that would be lovely.
It would be. I don't know if that actually
not sure how realistic
happens.
It is. The bigger the company, the less likely it is. Partly because you'll go from a salesperson to an implementation person to your handoff person.
Yeah,
it's not an individual relationship that you cultivate.
It's not
but that's
where that
a whole different
being taken through by the same person. So that's when the pilot at the other end, the client end, is where that has to take place. But it does fascinate. Change management is a fascinating process, and it's the knowledge that you're taking human beings on a journey from one place to another place. Yeah. Hopefully, that's going to be an improvement, but their natural suspicion might then cause it to be rejected along the way.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's kind of mitigating against the potential that might fail because of the sensitive communication
and emotion and stuff. Yeah, understandable. I like that. That was quite interesting. Quite interesting. That sounded like a what's that backhanded compliment?
It was, wasn't it? Thanks.
Sorry about that. Thanks.
All right, that's enough for today.
Right.
Thanks for supporting us by downloading and listening to this episode.
And a massive thank you also to Donnie, Emily, Nat and Lewis and the BTD Studios for all your expertise in bringing our podcasting dream to reality.
We'd love it if you commented on this episode, as we'd really like to know what you think and what you might like us to cover in future episodes.
And we'll see you on the next one.